Next up will be the keynote speaker, Salah. Salah, let's give a big round of applause for Salah.
Thank you so much. إذا الشعب يوما أراد الحياة فلا بد أن يستجيب القدر. If people wants to live desirously, fate completes with them willingly. This is a very famous Arabic poet about the willing of the people. My name is Salah Jarade. I am Palestinian, but I was born in Syria. I would like to thank the European School in Mol and to invite me here to be with you. I'm very thankful to be with you today, to give you a right image about what's happening or about the refugee, because it's a very important case now in Europe. As you see in the media, everything is talking about the refugee and the immigration and the war in Syria and what's happening in the Middle East also. So it's very important today to give you a really the true story from a person who suffered this story. I would like also to thank the Belgian people and the Belgian government and all Belgium anyway, because really I'm very thankful, and all the Syrian people or all the refugee here in Belgium or in Europe are very thankful for what you are doing to us in this years, because I think I'm sure I'm sure that the history will remember that Europe one day treated us as brothers, treated us as humans. We escaped destruction and the wars, and we are asking for protection, and Europe is the only place where we found the safe here. Our neighbors or our brothers in the Arabic world treated us as I think strangers, and the whole Arabic countries or the Arabic Gulf countries refused to accept any Syrian refugees or any other refugees. So I'm really thankful, and thank you so much, Europe and all the European countries. Thank you so much. First, let me show you a short video, and then I will start talking about my story.
In the summer of 2015, Europe experienced the highest influx of refugees since the Second World War. Why? The main reason is that Syria has become the world's top source of refugees. Syria is located in the Middle East, an ancient, fertile land settled for at least 10,000 years. Since the 1960s, it's been led by the Al-Assad family, who have ruled it as quasi-dictators until the Arab Spring happened in 2011, a revolutionary wave of protests and conflicts in the Arab world that toppled many authoritarian regimes. But the Assads refused to step down and started a brutal civil war. Different ethnicities and religious groups fought each other in changing coalitions. ISIS, a militaristic jihadist group, used the opportunity and entered the chaos with the goal to build a totalitarian Islamic caliphate. Very quickly, it became one of the most violent and successful extremist organizations on earth. All sides committed horrible war crimes using chemical weapons, mass executions, torture on a large scale, and repeated deadly attacks on civilians. The Syrian population was trapped between the regime, rebel groups, and religious extremists. A third of the Syrian people have been displaced within Syria, while over 4 million have fled the country. The vast majority of them reside now in camps in the neighboring countries, who are taking care of 95% of the refugees, while the Arab states of the Persian Gulf together have accepted 0 Syrian refugees, which has been called especially shameful by Amnesty International. The UN and the World Food Programme were not prepared for a refugee crisis on this scale. As a result, many refugee camps are crowded and undersupplied, subjecting people to cold, hunger, and disease. The Syrians lost hope that their situation will be getting better anytime soon, so many decided to seek asylum in Europe. Between 2007 and 2014, the European Union had invested about €2 billion in defences, high-tech security technology and border patrols, but not a lot in preparation for an influx of refugees. So it was badly prepared for the storm of asylum seekers. In the EU, a refugee has to stay in the state they arrived in first, which put enormous pressure on the border states that were already in trouble. Greece, in the midst of an economic crisis on the scale of the Great Depression, was not able to take care of so many people at once, leading to terrible scenes of desperate, hungry people on islands usually reserved for tourists. The world needed to come together and act as a united front, but instead it has become more divided. Many states downright refused to take in any refugees, leaving the border states alone in their struggle. In 2014, the UK lobbied to stop a huge search and rescue operation called Mare Nostrum that was designed to stop asylum seekers from drowning in the Mediterranean. The idea seems to have been that a higher death toll on the sea would mean fewer asylum seekers trying to make the journey. But of course, in reality, that's not what happened. The perception of the crisis around the world suddenly changed when photos circulated of a dead boy from Syria found lying face down on a beach in Turkey. Germany announced that it will, without exception, accept all Syrian refugees and is now preparing to take in 800,000 people in 2015. More than the entire EU took in 2014, only to impose temporary border controls a few days later and demand an EU-wide solution. All over the West, more and more people are beginning to take action, although support for asylum seekers has mostly come from citizens, not from politicians. But there are fears in the Western world: Islam, high birth rates, crime and the collapse of the social systems. Let's acknowledge this and look at the facts. Even if the EU alone were to accept all 4 million Syrian refugees and 100% of them were Muslims, the percentage of Muslims in the European Union would only rise from about 4% to about 5%. This is not a drastic change and will certainly not make it a Muslim continent. A Muslim minority is neither new nor reason to be afraid. Birth rates in many parts of the Western world are low, so some fear asylum seekers might overtake the native population in a few decades. Studies have shown that even though birth rates are higher among Muslims in Europe, they drop and adjust as the standard of living and level of education rises. Most Syrian refugees already are educated. The birth rate in Syria before the civil war was not very high, and the population was actually shrinking, not growing. The fear that refugees lead to higher crime rates also turns out to be wrong. Refugees who become immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than the native population. When allowed to work, they tend to start businesses and integrate themselves into the workforce as fast as possible, paying more into the social systems than they extract from them. Syrians coming to the West are potential professional workers, desperately needed to sustain Europe's aging population. Also, refugees travelling with smartphones has led to the misconception that they're not really in need of help. Social media and the internet have become a vital part of being a refugee. GPS is used to navigate the long routes to Europe. Facebook groups give tips and information about obstacles in real time. This only proves that these people are like us. If you had to make a dangerous journey, would you leave your phone behind? The European Union is the wealthiest bunch of economies on Earth. Well-organized states with functioning social systems, infrastructure, democracy, and huge industries. It can handle the challenge of the refugee crisis if it wants to. The same can be said for the whole Western world. But while tiny Jordan has taken in over 600,000 Syrian refugees, the UK, which has 78 times the GDP of Jordan, has only said it will allow 20,000 Syrians across its borders over the next 5 years. The US has agreed to accept 10,000, Australia 12,000 people. Overall, things are slowly getting better, but not fast enough. We are writing history right now. How do we want to be remembered? As xenophobic rich cowards behind fences? We have to realize that these people fleeing death and destruction are no different from us. By accepting them into our countries and integrating them into our societies, we have much to gain. There is only something to be lost if we ignore this crisis. More dead children are sure to wash ashore if we don't act with humanity and reason. Let's do this right and try to be the best we possibly can be.
Thank you so much. Now I will start talking about my story and my trip to Belgium. When the war started in Syria, or the revolution, because it was a revolution but now it's a civil war. So when the revolution started in Syria, I was 16 years old. 16 years old, planning for my future and dreaming that I have hobbies, I have everything. I was planning what should I work in the future, what is my dreams, what I want to study in the university. I have hobbies. I play violin, so I was planning to have a band and be very famous, play violin, and to study engineering. So I was planning and I was working on my plans. Suddenly, everything changed when the war started in 2011. In 1 year, everything changed and everything destroyed. I first, not only me, I'm talking about myself, but you can imagine that this story is it's like for the majority and for the Syrian young people. So I forced to change all my plans and I forced to think about a different way because I'm not settled. I don't know what will happen tomorrow. Maybe anytime I will die or anytime I will be moved from my city or my house will be destroyed. So I was 16, 17 years old and I was thinking about how can I be safe, how can I continue my life. I stopped thinking about my future or anything else. So in 2014, after 3 years of the war, it was very difficult to stay in Syria and I was in the second year of the university. I finished my high school and I started studying economics in the Damascus University. So after 2 years, I was planning to graduate and maybe then I will think about traveling to Turkey or Europe and work there as a graduate person or something. But I couldn't do that because the checkpoints, I was living in the suburb of Damascus, but in 2012 my house completely destroyed, so I moved to Damascus. It was under control of the regime, Syrian regime. So every day when I want to go to the university, I should pass about 4 or 3 checkpoints for the regime army or the regime forces. And every checkpoint was asking me about my paper that I don't have to do the military services. And I was a student in the university, so I don't have to do the military service because I'm still a student, and also I'm Palestinian, I'm not Syrian. So I was afraid about myself because anytime they can take this paper and they can say you don't have any proof that you are a student and you should go and be a soldier in the army. So after 2 years in the university, it was very difficult for me. I decided to travel. And for me it was very difficult because I'm not Syrian. I'm Palestinian and don't have a Syrian nationality or a Syrian passport. I just have a document that I am a refugee in Syria. But I was born in Syria, my father also, but I'm still a refugee in Syria. So I decided to travel to Turkey. Then from Turkey I traveled to Europe. It was December of 2014. I traveled from Damascus to the border between Turkey and Syria, and it was illegal way because I don't have a passport or something. And it was really very difficult trip. And this part it was the most difficult part of the whole journey because I passed the regime, I passed the Free Syrian Army, I saw IS, I saw all the forces, all the groups are fighting in Syria and in this way between Damascus and the border. But thanks God I passed. After about 20 hours I arrived to the border and between the woods I passed to Turkey. I traveled to Istanbul and I tried to travel to Greece, then from Greece to Macedonia, Serbia, and the roads that we all know. But it was impossible because it was winter in December, it was a very cold weather, there was a storm in Macedonia and a lot of snow, and so I couldn't travel. I decided to stay there and try after 2 months or 3 months or any time I will try to travel. And after 6 months I couldn't stay in Turkey because there is no job, no future there. I cannot study there or do anything there. So I decided to travel to Europe. I contacted with my parents, and I told them that I cannot stay there anymore. I should travel because I'm wasting time here. Maybe they will send me back to Syria, or because I don't have a nationality and I'm illegal here in Turkey. So my mother also and my father told me that the situation also here it's very complicated, very difficult. We cannot handle it anymore. So your mother will come to you and you should travel with her. Maybe she can bring us after a while, because we cannot stay anymore in Syria. It's very dangerous for us. Because also we were living in the suburb of Damascus, where the revolution began, and we traveled to Damascus. And every couple of days there is soldiers coming to the house and asking for the papers, documents, why you came from this city to Damascus, so you are trying to do something here. So it's very difficult and very dangerous to stay there. So in June of 2015, me and my mother, we traveled to Greece by a small boat, like this one. I think all of you know that most of the migrants travel by this boat. So we met a smuggler in a city called Izmir in Turkey, and he told us, you should pay you $1,250 and your mother also the same price to sit in this boat and travel to Greece. He told us that it's about 6 meters tall and it's for 25 or 30 persons, and it will be about just 20 persons in the boat and everything will be safe. Just 30 minutes and you will arrive and don't care, everything will be okay. So we said okay. We gave him the money and he told us that today in the night you will travel. So he took us to a house. We don't know the road because he took us in without allowing us to know where is the house, and he put us there. We found about 50 persons in the same house, and all of them told us that we are going together. So we shocked that he told us we will be about 20 persons, and we found that we are 50. 50 in a small boat, that will be very dangerous. So we don't have any other choice, so we decide to go on this journey because we don't have anything to lose. We cannot go back. We cannot go back to Syria, and the only way is to take this boat and go, because dying in the sea is the same. Maybe it's better than staying in Syria or dying there, because it's not about the war in Syria. Anytime you will be arrested, and the arresting in Syria, if you are in the jail, you cannot imagine the situation there, because it's you cannot imagine that a human can do that for a human in the jails of Syria, exactly the regime jails. So we said okay, and we took this boat. At the first time, the police, the coast police, catch us, so we couldn't travel the first time. We escaped. About five men were arrested by the Turkish coast police, and we escaped. We walked about 6 hours just to find the road or where we are, because we were in an unknown area on the coast and in the dark. So we walked about 6 hours until we find the road, and we found some Turkish people. We told them that how can we return back to the city. So they guided us, and we arrived to Izmir. After about 1 week, we tried to travel, and we passed. We took the boat about 11 o'clock in the night. We were in a river. We sailed in the river about 1 hour, then we reached the sea. It was a very dark night because there was no moon in the sky, and it was very dark and very cold night also. But there's no wind, thanks God, because the sea was really flat. After 1 hour we reached the sea, so then we sailed about 3 hours, but we couldn't see any island in front of us, so we were sailing for an unknown location or unknown target. So after 3 hours we realized that we are lost, we don't know the road, and we were about 50%, and the boat was completely cannot move anymore, because after 3 hours, some water started to get inside, and it was really difficult on the engine to take this journey. So after 3 hours, we realized that we are lost. We used our GPS on the telephones, on the mobiles, to see where is our location now, to see where is the island or where is Turkey. We just want to go back or go forward. We just need a land to stand on. So we found on the GPS that we are taking a wrong way, so far away from any island or from Turkey. So we navigate all the road with the one who's driving the boat, and two persons having a GPS and guide him to the right road. So after 4 hours also, we arrived to an empty island. It was empty and a small island. There is no houses, no one in the island. It was about 4 o'clock a.m. We started to scream, we started to open our phones and whistling. Maybe someone can hear us because it's empty island, very small. We saw it on the GPS, it's very small. And there is no one in this island. So after about 30 minutes, we saw police car lights coming from the mountain. They arrived and they count us. They found us about 50%. They said you can follow our car to the police center and we will arrange everything for you. So they took the car and they went. We followed them, walking also about 4 hours until we find the police center because it was in the top of the mountain. So we climbed all over the mountain and the island. We arrived there, they took our passports and our identity cards, and they gave us the numbers and they took all the information of us. Then after 1 hour they sent us to another island called Samos, and it's a military island. It's not a civil island or something, it's a military island. So we were very happy because now we arrived, so it was very, very dangerous journey and you cannot imagine the fear and how did we feel in this journey. It was very cold night, very dark night, and we lost. And you cannot imagine 8 hours and you sit in the same place. You cannot move your leg or your arm. So it's unbelievable. So they sent us to this island, and it was a military island. So we didn't expect that we will face this destiny because we arrived there and the Greek police took us. They took our phones, they took our money, they took our jeans belt, everything, and they put us in a jail. It's a closed camp. They put all the refugees who are coming in this jail. So they put us there, and we couldn't also contact with anyone, with my father or my family or my friends or anyone. Thought that we sank in the sea or we drowned. They don't know anything about us. And we stayed there about 10 days in this jail, and no one knows about us. And we don't know why also. All the people are arriving to the island. The police gave them paper that you can travel, that you should go out of this land. But for us, they put us in this jail for 10 days. After 10 days, we start to protest. Then they give us paper that you should leave Greece in 10 days, in 1 month. So we traveled, me and my mother, we traveled to Athens, the capital. And the road in the last year from Greece to Macedonia, then, this road, it was very dangerous because there's many smugglers and many people who was hiding in the woods and trying to take the money from the people who was passing this road. So it was very difficult for us and for my mother. If I was alone, maybe I will take the journey, but my mother was with me, so I decided not to take this road or to walk all over the way to Europe. So I met a smuggler in Athens, and he told me I can give you a false ID card, so you can try it from the airport, maybe you will pass. In Athens, maybe they will not catch you, so you can pass in the airport. And it's very safe, but it's cost a lot. I told him, okay, it's not a problem, just give me a safe way because I will not take my mother another dangerous journey. So he told me, you should pay me 4,000 euro, and for your mother also 4,000 euro, and I will give you a false ID card, and I will try with you in the airport. I will give you tickets for the plane, you should try. It's up to you, maybe they will catch you, maybe not, so it's you and your luck. So I told him, okay. I was very lucky, I tried 1 time and I passed. My mother also 3 times, she passed, and we were very lucky to have this safe journey from Greece to Belgium, because all my friends came walking all over the road, and it was very dangerous for them. So for me and my mother, we came by plane. It was really very good luck for us. So after that, when I arrived here, really I felt like I arrived to, I was drowned, I was sinking in the sea, and someone saved me, because you cannot imagine the life under the war, and you cannot imagine also the trek or the journey, this journey from Syria to Europe. It took me 1 month between Turkey and Europe, and it was full of stress, dangerous month, and I cannot remember also what's happened with us all over this month. So when I arrived here, I was very thankful. Really, it was great to arrive to a safe place, and many people asked me why you choose Belgium. I was thinking to travel to Germany or Sweden when I was in Syria, and I was thinking about escaping. I was thinking about Germany or Sweden. But when I was in Turkey, I started to think about, I need a country. Maybe I can continue my study. I can study in the university, and I need to work. And also I'm Palestinian, so I don't want to return to Syria. It's not my country. So I'm looking for a country where I can stay longer and I can work and learn in the university faster. So I made a research on the internet, and I asked many friends, and they told me that Belgium is the best for your plan. So I planned to travel here, and I arrived here, and I'm really thankful, because it was a very good choice to come to Belgium. And really, the Belgian people are very, very great people and very friendly. I have many friends in other countries, and when I talk to them about my situation here or how I treated here, they feel jealous a little bit, because really I feel here like with my brothers. I think my time has finished, so I tried to make it as short as possible. So I will have a question from you if you have a questions. Thank you.
Thank you for this impressive presentation and speech. So we will allow a few questions. Are there any? Yes?
Where did you get the money from? Where did you get the money from?
Yeah, my mother sold her gold. She has a gold and rings and everything. And for my situation, when I was in Syria before the war, my family was in a good condition. We had money, and so we sold our. We had a car, so we sold the car, and we collect our money from the banks and everything, so we could have this amount of money to travel to Europe. My mother sold all his gold, her gold. Sorry.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Is your family still in Syria?
Yeah, I have my father, my sister, and 2 brothers still in Syria. The youngest one is 5 years, and the older is 13. My sister is 18, and my father. But fortunately, they are coming in the next week. We arrived here, and we asked for asylum and for a procedure here, and we were very lucky. We took the decision. It was a positive decision, and we applied to make a reunion for the family, and they accept. And the rest of the family are coming in the next week. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions? Yes?
Sorry.
What's the youngest age of the soldiers fighting here?
It's 18. If you don't study or
So you were 18 when you were traveling?
I was when I traveled, I was 19. Now I'm almost 21. I was 19 years. It was 2014.
Yes?
Yeah.
You may ask a question.
Are you continuing your studies now?
Not yet, because I'm still learning Dutch, and it's not that easy to be in the university here, because degrees between Syria and Belgium. After the war, the university level in Syria, it was shrinking down. Before the war, it was very good diploma, or if you study in the University of Damascus, it's very good. You can work in Europe and America, it's very good. But now the level is very bad. So I need to exchange my diploma or my degrees, and I don't know if it will allow me to study here or not. But first, I'm studying now Dutch, so I don't know. Thank you.
Yes, a few more questions. Yes?
How do you feel knowing that you are probably one of the luckiest refugees in Belgium?
Yeah, I feel very thankful. Really, when I remember what's happened with me and how I arrived here. Sometimes I remember the whole journey, and then I remember what I found here. That really, I'm very thankful for this. For Belgium or Europe, because that will be written in the history, really. So I feel I need to cry, because I cannot imagine the situation there and here. And how lucky I am to arrive here.
What do you think about the reaction of the European cities towards the refugee crisis? What do you think about their reaction?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
sorry.
I'm really sorry. I didn't hear the first.
Sure. What do you think about Europe's reaction to the refugee crisis, seeing as you are one of the people who is a refugee?
It's a really humanitarian reaction. We didn't expect this reaction from our brothers or neighborhood in the Arabic countries, or the Arabic governments, because the Arabic people or the neighborhood people, they are very sad about what's happening with us, but the government there are very bad. So I'm really thankful for the reaction for the European reaction and how did they treated us. Really, we feel like we escaped, we fled death and construction, and we arrived to the safe place, and we found our brothers, or we found humans waiting for us. Really, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Are you ever planning on going back to Syria?
Many people ask me these questions. For me, if the war is finished this week or this month, maybe I will be thinking about going back. But after 1 year or 2 years, I don't think so, because after 2 years, maybe I will be studying in the university, or I have a job, or so it's difficult for me to cancel everything here or to destroy everything here and going back to rebuild everything from the ground in Syria. But maybe I will go to visit Syria and come back. I don't know. But for me, after 2 years, I don't think I will go back.
What are your expectations and hopes for the future?
Excuse me. Can you please wait until we see if anyone else has a question? Are there any questions? We have time for 2 more. Yes. First, you may ask your question. Then you. Thank you.
Do you feel like the community has accepted you very well, or do you still feel like a refugee even here?
Yeah. For me, I haven't found many persons who refused us, but I've met some person, but it's not that number. Or I don't blame them, because in the media. I blame the media. I don't blame the people, because the media is always showing the bad side of the refugee. I'm not saying that all the refugee or all the Syrian people they are perfect persons, because also we should. You cannot say that all the refugees are Syrian, because we are not the majority. There is Afghani people, there is Iraqi people, there is African people. So, but the media is focusing on the Syrian people. So, and we are not the majority also. And we have bad people. We have bad people. We have good people. In any group of people, you can find the good and the bad. So for me, I haven't met a very big number of those people who is treating us in a bad way. But I have, maybe because I don't look like an Arab or something, but I have friends, yes, they were treated in a bad way many times because they have dark skin or they look like they are refugee. I don't blame the people, I blame the media because they are focusing on the wrong side.
Thank you. Last question, please.
What are your hopes or expectations for the future?
The first word?
Your hopes and expectations for the future.
Sorry. Yeah, I wish I can study here economics or business. I wish I can graduate and have a diploma and work and have a good life. And I wish also this war to finish because there's many generation. This generation in Syria was completely destroyed from the inside. Not all the building we can rebuild, but we cannot rebuild what the war destroyed in the souls of our children or our generation. My brother, 5 years old, he was born in the war, so he don't know what the meaning of the life without the war. So I wish this war will finish, and I wish I can study and have a good life, and I can help the people as like one day people help me. Thank you. About after the Second World War, you act like brothers, and please stay like brothers. Islamophobia. So I cannot understand this sentence or this word because I am as a Muslim. I don't think I'm very different of you or the other people. We are about 1.6 billion in the world. So if all the Muslims are terrorists or all the Muslims are evils, want to kill the people, I think the earth will be destroyed in one day. So just think, I think Islamophobia or what's happening now about Islam, it's just something the media has made, or just the people are afraid from Muslims and Muslims are coming to kill us and coming here to Europe. I don't believe in that because I know I'm Muslim, I know what Islam, I know my friends, and I lived in an Islamic country, so I know what Muslims are thinking. What's happening now that IS and the Islamic groups that you see in the television, believe me, it's all was made by I don't know. I don't have an idea who made that, but they are not. It's just a reason to give the regime a long life. Believe me, because when we started to hear about IS in Syria, everything changed, and the regime started to kill more people, and the rebels started to lose more areas, and everything changed since IS founded in Syria. We don't like them. We don't believe in them. And they are killing us like the regime do or Russian do. We are complaining about Islam and IS. Why we don't remember what Russia do now in Syria? What Iran doing in Syria? They are doing more than IS doing now, or they are killing people, they are burning people, they are slaughtering people. They are doing more than what IS doing in Syria or Iraq. So why we are focusing on one side and just bringing the Islamophobia, the Islam and the Islamists, and forgetting what Russian doing in Syria, Iranian, the Shia people or Hezbollah regime. The regime is the main reason of what's happening now in Syria and what's happening in Europe borders. So we can stop this war. We can force, as the European Union, I think the European Union is the powerful union in the world. So I don't think that European Union cannot force Russia to stop and cannot make a change in Syria. I'm really sorry for the time, and I'm really sorry, but thank you for listening for me.